Yeah, I'm at a really interesting like place in my life, man. Like where my son's grown.
Oh, thank you.
I'm making this transition into I don't have to work right now.
Yeah.
It's like
It's like your second life.
bro, it's insane. Like I'm just like I don't know, what's gonna happen, which is really awesome. It's just a very interesting time. Like it really is. And I seen it. I didn't see this coming. Like out of it's just all of a sudden, just all this stuff has happened so quickly, and it was like right after I accepted Christ.
Aww.
It's really insane.
Love
Like
that.
I mean, he's like he is really just like I don't think that's a coincidence.
No.
Like it's really insane. Like I accepted Christ, and then like I kept doing what I wanted to do. Stuff, women, all that stuff, drugs, drinking, and then he broke me down. And then that's when everything just started changing. So yeah, one day, man, I'll have to share it with you. Share the story.
I think we talked about it on one.
Yeah,
of
it's
our
on one of the
podcasts.
podcasts. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a very impactful story.
Oh yeah,
absolutely, man.
It's David's testimony. It's,
yeah,
it's very
man. And it just like and all this is part of it. It just keeps getting better. Like just like it's like wow, this is really neat. Like how everything is just trusting him. What can happen?
It's interesting because I'll find myself in like really low points of my life, or it happens to everybody. Something terrible will happen. But my mom and I joke all the time because I'll just find myself in some random situation, basically come out of all the shit, and I'm in a much better place than I was before the shit. It's happened to me so many times. My mom she's just amazed by it, how it happens all the time.
Well, what I get though is you're a champion, man, because champions are resilient. Like no matter how much you get knocked down, you get back up. That's like a true champion, man.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I mean, super thankful. So I know there's a reason for it, and I usually attribute it to God. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah. I can, there's no other rhyme or reason to it.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, Amber. Though, like your family, though, and widely your family is actually very much in touch with God.
Oh, very, 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 very Christian background.
Your mom and
Absolutely.
dad. I mean, even during COVID, like if obviously your dad couldn't go during COVID because of COVID
church
being
every
COVID.
Sunday.
But your dad, he would dial into their live stream that they would have every week.
They still do.
Yeah, I know. And your dad, like this is part of his committed schedule, which is beautiful, because and that applies to both your mom and dad.
That was a really big deal when we were kids. Like, I get in trouble. I was.
Yeah, you were the hellion
I
of
was
the
a little
family.
bit of an asshole.
You were.
So
you were the black sheep.
Yeah.
Really?
But
no, I'm just like I can't tell.
Yeah, I would have never known.
But I mean, my parents are pretty lenient.
Yeah, they're pretty passive people.
They're pretty passive. But if I didn't go to church on Sunday, woo,
holy
that
hell.
was like the worst thing you could possibly do. And I did some bad stuff. So yeah, that church on Sunday was I mean, yep.
And when you look at everything, it's like his hand is in everything.
Yeah.
When you really get down to the nuts and bolts and the whys, it's like, man, his hand is always in it.
Yeah.
So that's what, I don't know. I just think that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's interesting looking back at certain situations. Like when you're in it and you're like, why is this happening to me right now?
Yeah.
But then after you get out of it, whatever that is,
yeah.
I look back, I'm like,
it builds character.
That's why that happened. Okay,
yeah.
I get
You need those storms. You need storms to build character.
Definitely.
If you never have a storm, you
can't enjoy the sweet without the sour,
Yeah, man. You're not always going to be on the top of that mountain,
Yeah.
You got to go through those valleys,
I do like being on the top of the mountain, though.
It is great.
Well, that's just because you're a very masculine woman.
I'm like, whoa.
Shots fired.
Yeah, shots fired. Oh, my God.
Whoop. Is that what you were trying to show me?
That's awesome, dude.
Oh, man. Emotional damage right there.
Yeah. I do have that one, too. Emotional.
Oh, wow.
But it is nice. I agree. It is nice to be on top of the mountain. However, it feels better when you get there through hard work.
Oh,
it's
man,
sacrifice,
yes.
dedication, rather than it just falling on.
Well, yeah,
because
none of this stuff was given to me.
No, nothing.
Right.
You've worked very hard to get to where you are.
I'm thankful because my parents could have carved an easier path if they really wanted to for me, but I appreciate that they didn't, because if I was spoiled, everything was handed to me, I don't think I'd be where I'm at right now.
No.
Yeah.
You can't. And I think that's a great message to parents, man. Like, even though you have it, you shouldn't give it.
Right.
Yeah.
Just,
so when I still remember this story, which my dad's not a wordsmith at all. But I was turning 16, and we didn't have any money or anything like that when we were kids. So I remember I was driving his car to my grandma's house. I'm driving down this dirt road, or we get up to the dirt road. My dad's like, "Son, you can go ahead and drive the last little bit." And we're talking, it was probably maybe 600 yards. I'm like, "Oh, thanks, Dad. This is awesome." 16 years old. And I ended up looking at him, or just getting ready to turn 16, and I was like, so my birthday's coming up, and I could really, really, really like a car, because I lived out in the country, right? So I'm like, I would really like a car for my birthday. And he looked at me and he's like, "Son, you're going to get a car the same way I got a car. Get a job."
Ooh.
And
Amen.
I say that in the aspect of, at that point I didn't understand it, because I was a 16-year-old kid. I'm like, "Man, what the hell, Dad? Come on. You and Mom can scratch some change together. Shit, my first car I bought for $100. And you're like,
you can buy
true
a car
story.
for $100?
Yeah, the guy gave me the 30 for 30 warranty, which the first 30 feet or 30 seconds I had the car. And then I get my money back. And it was a terrible car, but it did burnouts. That's all I care about, because I was 16. But
what was it?
I think it was a 1978 Mercury Zephyr that was the color of puke green.
Oh yeah, that's where it's at right there.
Yeah, it was a dime piece, but
your cars have been quite questionable. I'm starting to find out.
But you got some terrible choices, man.
Yeah. Sorry, man. It is what it is. But I say all that on, more importantly, on the aspect of understanding what hard work brings you.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, that was probably the worst car I've ever had my whole entire life.
Well,
but I will tell you,
so.
I worked hard for that car and worked hard to keep that car running. So the value of hard work and that ethic.
Well, now you know how to work on cars. You've already worked on a couple of mine.
But I appreciate my father in a way of putting that foundation of, I'm not going to give you a handout.
Yeah.
You need to build your value, right? Yeah. So, which is important.
It is important.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, my first job, actually, I've been working since I was 12. So, kids now, they don't start working
Oh, no, they're playing video games. Come on, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny you say that. Me too.
No, really?
Yeah, I was working at 12,
it really was a little bit sketchy in child labor laws, I would say.
Yeah,
but,
it was obviously under the table.
No, this is a legit business.
No way,
like
really?
That's a Nebraska thing, though.
It was Nebraska.
Got you.
So it was detasseling corn. So,
okay.
So for our viewers, can you explain what detasseling means? Because most people are not going to know what that means. They're going to be like, "Yo, this girl's out in a cornfield just doing some dumb shit."
It was some dumb shit. So you picture a cornfield. Sometimes they'll have that little yellow tassel at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not good crop for like humans to eat.
Okay.
So is that like
for horses and stuff?
So it's feed corn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
this brings me back to my country days.
Yeah. So for us to eat, you actually I think it's like half grown or 3/4 grown, you pull the tassel out, and then that's the corn that we eat.
Okay.
And that would be sweet corn.
I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I just know worked from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Wow.
in July in the sun, and heat rash and the whole thing, snakes and ticks, and so worst job I ever had, but hey, it'll build you some character.
For real, man. That's probably made you who you are today.
That's why you're the boss.
Yeah.
I'm
the boss, bitch.
I want that boss, bitch.
But what was it that made you want to do that at a young age?
I guess that to that point is, my parents wouldn't buy me just whatever I wanted, and I'm like, well, there are things I want.
Yeah.
Like, well, you have to work for that.
Was there a triggering event though that you were like, okay, they're not going to buy me this? I'm going to seek means to get it.
Yeah, I wanted like new clothes or something. It was like, we were gonna go back to school, and I wanted to look cool.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, I feel you.
And
I guess why the want?
I just want to be able to buy what I want. I don't know.
It's just an innate thing, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like we had a lot of hand-me-downs from like my aunt and whatever, and so when you're starting to get into your teenage, and you start to care more about
how you
your
look.
appearance.
Your visual appearance.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not wearing hand-me-downs.
Yeah, for me it was like, I knew that my parents didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to have to ask them, for stuff.
I can totally see that.
So I was like, I'm gonna go make my own money, if I have an opportunity.
Yeah,
and I did, and then like I would pick up little jobs, like from that first job at 12 years old. Then I started,
See, I was in your camp, like in the town that I lived in.
What did you do?
I was actually on a 10-speed. I delivered newspapers with newspapers hanging in a sack off my shoulder.
Nice.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, unfortunately, I'm older than everyone here, and that's fine.
Wait, am I the youngest one here?
Wait, how old are you?
36.
I'm 36. I think I'm the youngest.
We're the same age.
Yeah, because you're July, and I'm February.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm younger by a few months.
You're.
No.
Wait, oh no, you're turning 37.
I will be turning 37.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, he's the young. DT's
the youngest.
Oh yeah. Then you're the youngest.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh man, I miss being the youngest. Doesn't happen a lot anymore.
You're close though. You're very close to being the youngest.
Close.
But there's something to be said about that though. Like working at a young age, establishing that ethic, that drive to become better.
Yep.
Like on my end, like I know, again, parents in the same shape. Like they didn't really have two pennies to scratch together.
Yep.
At the beginning of the year, for I don't know, a number of years before, I was like, man, I have to do something about this. Like internally, like my other siblings, they were fine with, if you want to call it, complacency.
Mm-hmm.
And but so I ended up, my mom would come to me and say, hey, well, what kind of clothes do you want at the start of the school year? And I'm like, well, like in t-shirts, jeans, whatever, and whatever. And so I would give her kind of an idea of what I wanted, but shopping for school that year was shopping at Salvation Army to get virtually, second, third, fourth run clothes. And a lot of them either had stains in them or whatever the case may be, but that's what I had for the year, until I'd grow out of them, because up until a certain point I stopped growing, and it is what it is.
That's
but
funny.
That being said, like I still remember like going to school, middle school, time frame. That's when.
Is this all in Wisconsin?
No, actually it was down here. I lived down here for 7 years after my dad retired from the military, and in an area called High Point, which at the time was not a very good area.
So it's not a high point.
No. It was actually it was a pretty rough area at the time. A lot of gang violence and that kind of stuff. But so that being said, I still remember like my mom, I told her, like, hey, I want these kind of clothes. And this is back when like school, like, tight rolling your jeans were, that was a dope thing to do. The smaller the tight roll, the better off you are, But my mom ended up buying me these jeans, and I was so like apt to wanting to try fitting in with the group to be one of the cool kids, which I was never really the cool kid. I was just one of the guys in the distance, right?
You're pretty cool to me.
Thanks. But being at that point, I think I stayed at like 4'10" for like 6 years, and so I was, not a tall guy to begin with, but I was really small and really skinny, really small. It was hard to find pants that actually fit me.
Yeah.
So my mom would just buy me long pants and be like, we can cut the bottoms off or you can roll them up. So I tried to tight roll these damn jeans, right? And
insert tight roll.
But for real, they look like MC Hammer pants because they were so baggy up top.
No.
Because I had a tight rolled around the ankle, but they're so baggy up top. Like, it's just a lot of material going on there. I mean, I went to school like that, and I ended up, getting teased about it, which resulted in a fight and then another suspension. Not good. But anyway, that being said, like, there was that yearning. Like, I had that experience, and as well as kind of I felt like the burden that I was putting on my parents to go out and buy me clothes that, knowing that they couldn't afford, because, I was the youngest, of all the kids, and, they had all that going on. So at that point I was like, all right, I'm gonna not tell my parents. I'm gonna take my mom and dad's lawnmower and start cutting lawns until I can save up enough money to buy my own lawnmower and start doing this like as a, if you want to call it a side hustle, right? So I started doing that, and I had, I don't know, it was like 15 lawns a week. So every day after school, I would come home and cut like 3 lawns.
Damn.
You know,
Wow.
and I would.
Wait, and your parents didn't know?
Wow.
No. Well, I mean, they didn't know at first, but then once I bought a second, you know, my own lawnmower, they were like, "Why do we have this thing?" And because you're talking in the time of like, just be home when it starts getting dark.
Right.
Like, you don't need a call. Like, you know, there was no caller ID back then.
The lights go on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pre-cell phones.
Yep.
You know, pre-internet. You know, whatever. So
good old days, man.
Yeah. So, you know, it was all that. But then, you know, after a while, which actually came out to be a beautiful thing, because then, you know, if my parents came up short, you know, my mom, she was able to remove her ego and come to me and be like, hey, listen, I know that you've been doing X, Y, and Z. We need to cover X. Like, can you,
Aww.
you know?
Wow.
And, you know, I'm firmly of the belief of like, you know, you pave your way, right? You put forward your value. And, you know, it was undoubtedly like, whatever you need, you know, which was great, because then I was able to help contribute to the family. And meanwhile, you know, I had other siblings that, you know, obviously they're all older than me, that weren't doing squat.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it's like, you know, I wish that they would stand up and do something, and they're all doing stuff now, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But at that time,
you were getting it at a young age. You understood.
Well, yeah, because, you know, I see the interactions from my other siblings and my parents, and mainly my parents, the stress that they would come home from. Like, you know, my dad would work overnights. My mom would work during the days. Like, before school, I would get up and, you know, walk our dog to the bus stop, because my mom had to take the bus to and from to work, because my dad had the car. So I would take the dog to the bus stop, because again, we didn't live in a good area, to make sure that I walked my mom home every day. Because if someone came at us, like, I was there. Now, granted, I was a young little kid, but we also had the dog, so the dog would be able to, you know, go at this person in the event that someone approached my mom in the wrong way. So it was like a protective thing, but, you know, it was important, like, because, you know, they're your family, right? Yep. And they're the one establishing or ingraining that value, or your values, right? So it was important to me to make sure that I protected my family in such a way.
Wow.
That's You're definitely a protective kind of a guy.
Oh, for sure.
I'd say.
Yeah, Tom's definitely the traditional provider, protector.
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
100%.
Yeah, that's awesome that you learned that early in life, dude. Such a young guy.
I feel like
are you the youngest sibling?
Yeah, I was the youngest of 5. Right. So I was, and now I say all that in the aspect of, I was definitely a knucklehead more times than not as I was a kid. But, you know, you don't learn until you hit your head a couple times.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your frontal lobe hasn't developed fully at that point.
I hope it's still developing.
It's funny. A buddy of mine, he, how old is he? 46, 47, something like this. He started dating this girl. She's 21. And I'm like,
ooh, that's.
Did he hit his frontal lobe?
And I was
wait. Say that again. How old is he?
It's like 46 or 48, somewhere in
21?
And she's 21.
My man.
She must be really mature.
My man.
Just kidding.
So
wait, what's wrong with that? What are we saying here?
My point being, like, we got together, had lunch the other day, and he's, you know, complaining about the girl, and
oh, I bet.
And it's just a maturity thing.
How did he meet this girl?
Oh, we'll get into that. This online stuff, but
there it is.
There it is.
Yeah. What is he looking for? Is he looking for a young wife, or is he just having a good time?
I mean, he's divorced.
He just wants a hot.
Yeah. She's pretty attractive.
There we go. The here and now.
Does he make a lot of money? He's.
You could say yes. It's okay.
He's successful.
Yeah, you don't need to say his name, but yeah, I mean, he's doing well.
I would say, he's doing pretty well right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I just when we talked the other day and he was complaining about her, I'm like, listen, man, her frontal lobe isn't fully developed. So
wow.
Oh,
wow.
Maybe she just doesn't know.
Wow. Yo, there we go.
But think about when you were 21. You didn't want to hear that someone.
Oh, hell no.
You didn't have a fully developed.
Oh, I know. I think
no one can tell you that. You know what I'm saying? Like you.
I was fairly mature.
Yeah. Well, there it is. That's what every girl's gonna say when
I
they.
know.
Oh yeah.
When I was 21, I was fine. You know.
Yeah. I was the best person in the world.
Right.
But there it is. It's that physical attraction, and that's what gets us in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, man, you're you know, how much energy, time, and money goes into that.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like, and it's like,
especially when people know they're attractive.
Yeah, you got to be really careful with that though, because
then it's unflattering.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
What's your why? Like, what's your why? So his 100%. Why is probably because she's attractive and she's young.
Well, that's the thing. What is his why, right?
Is that sustainable though?
So
I asked him that.
You said he's divorced and he probably has kids, maybe.
No.
Okay. So is he looking to start a family? What is his why?
I don't think he wants a family, but but I think he really does want a sincere, good relationship. And
well, that's
so I had to ask him that the other day.
Start.
I'm like, well, do you see yourself with this person? And he's like,
oh, well, there you go.
Okay,
so
like, why are you wasting your time then? I don't
know. If he doesn't see himself with her, I don't think it's because of the age. Maybe it's just because of who she is. Because remember, there was a time where 21-year-old women were the best mothers, wives.
Okay.
You know, it's not about age specifically, right?
But not these days though, man. I don't.
What's the difference though? You know, is it a social thing? Because when my grandparents got married,
it's gotta be a
my
social
grandparents
thing.
got married at 19 and 21. My granddad was 21. My grandmother was 19.
Right.
They started their family at that age, and they stayed together for 55 years.
Right.
I think there was a different mindset, like because the mindset back then was like they were all old souls in a way, right?
To some degree.
How does it change so quickly though? We're talking about what, 100 years?
Society.
It's just
society, man.
It's,
I mean, internet maybe.
But we put a biological spin on it. Her frontal lobe's not fully developed. There was a time where 21-year-old women were wives and mothers, and those
frontal lobe still wasn't developed.
Okay, sure. But
I think it's 24. But I don't know. This is an Amber fact, so don't.
But still, it was still a time.
We don't know if this is actually true.
We all know the Amber facts.
Lasted. They lasted, right?
Yeah.
Like there was a time when
definitely.
You look at today's statistics. 50% of marriages end in divorce. 80% of divorces are initiated by women. There's more single motherhood rates out there than any other time. So, is it a biological thing? Is it because of her age, or is it a social thing?
It's totally a social thing.
I think it's totally a social thing.
I agree.
So I wouldn't hold it against her that she's 21.
I got you.
I would just say, you know, maybe they're not compatible socially. Maybe he's somewhere where she's not there. Maybe she's not marriage minded. She's not wife minded. She's not mother. She doesn't want to be a mother.
You know, you got to wonder what their conversations are like. And I mentioned this.
I feel like they don't. I feel like they probably don't talk.
They don't really talk.
I feel like it's probably mostly sex.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I'm getting at. So I mentioned this as a personal experience on my end. So I dated this lawyer, and it's shortly after I moved down to Florida. So I was maybe 22, 23 at the time at best. And so I go to this event, and she's there with all her lawyer friends and all this kind of stuff. And virtually she tells me, in which at the moment I didn't realize it, but the moment I left there, I realized it, that she was embarrassed of me, embarrassed of what I did, you know, in terms of work.
Oh, that's just,
you know, and because I mean, I was young, you know, I didn't really have much value that I was bringing to the table outside of myself. And there was definitely still some maturity stuff, because we all know that men typically mature later in life over a woman, you know, it's proven. And but yeah, she was virtually telling me that I needed to lie about my profession so that I would be, she did it in lawyer speak, but that I was more, I don't know, that I was received better,
more accomplished.
Yeah. And so I ended up leaving that day, and we had been dating for, I don't know, a little while now. And it was the next day, I was like, you know, it just dawned on me. I'm like, I can't live this. Like, no, you know, like, I'm not going to lie to myself, or no less lie to other people, you know, about what I do and how I do it, and, you know, any of that, because I mean, what life am I going to be living, you know, at that point? So anyway,
good for you for recognizing that.
Yeah, but that relationship ended the very next day, if not the day after. So You know, it was just weird getting to your point of like, you know, I was on the other end of that, being a young man dating an older woman.
Right.
You know, so not much value there on my end that I was adding outside of just the physical, you know, here's Tom and little Tom.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. And from a dating and marriage perspective, you know, a woman has her her highest value, I would say, when she's younger.
Yeah.
From a marriage perspective.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, and it's reversed.
No, we're not saying that your value as a woman is low as you get older. It's a specific value. It's your marriage value, your relationship value, right? So, and as a man, it's the inverse. You know, as we get older, more mature and more successful, more solid,
become more attractive.
We become more attractive.
Yeah.
Amber, you've experienced this.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
the one guy that you considered marrying
was 20 years older than me.
20 years, and you're surprised that this 21-year-old girl is dating a 47-year-old guy.
Oh, I'm not surprised. I'm not really surprised actually, but you know, the conversation with him is, you know, my relationship didn't work out, and a lot of it was the age gap. It really was a large age gap. It was pretty hard to get around.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But why would the age gap be such a difference or an issue?
Communication.
You were okay
You're
with
communicating.
his age. I'm sure he was more than okay with your age. I mean, he's got
of course.
a young, hot, you know, driven woman. Of course, he's gonna be okay. So why would that cause the rift? Because
But I learned from that experience. I don't think I would date it. I mean, it would have to be some insane connection, but I wouldn't go out of my way to find somebody that much older.
It has to be communication, though.
But yeah, I mean, there was definitely breakdowns and
I say this in the aspect of, you know, my biggest thing all day, every day is communication, right?
Right.
So I would say that I internally struggled with said person on what you guys communicated about behind closed doors when no one was around. Because my personal opinion was I felt like you were communicating, but no one was listening.
I could see that.
You know, because the message that you had to deliver wasn't being received, you know, in the return.
I could see that.
And which I feel like is a larger problem where people are dating and there's large, you know, there's large age differences, right? Because you know, someone that's older is living a life that they've already been through this. This is they're going to placate that person just to let them say what they need to say and move on.
Yeah. And call a spade a spade. Like, it's typically young women dating older, successful men.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
So
and that goes back to what we talked about, the value, the inverse value. Like a young woman is more attractive or more sexually
at a younger age.
Yeah, desirable at a younger age, and a guy typically
becomes distinguished older.
Yeah, he
it must be the salt and pepper hair and all that.
It's like, what is that young woman looking for in that old man, and what is that old man looking for in that young woman? And then you really discover like what you're doing there.
Well, sadly, it's
you know, so we all know
vastly different things.
Exactly.
To with what you just said is that the woman is looking for, in a way of saying, security. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. See, we're here.
Yeah.
We're here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That was a big.
Yeah.
That was a pretty big selling point.
The man is looking for something physical.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well,
so you already got
it's physical.
More times than not.
Yeah.
More times than not.
So the physical aspect is definitely
impossible fertility. I know where you're going with this.
It's definitely a thing. But if the man is looking to build a family and a legacy, it's more the, you know, is she, you know, it's a fertility thing. It's also what's her experiences like? Like the younger a girl is, the less likely she's been tainted. Or I hate to say that, or corrupted.
Oh, I
by,
see where you're.
by
I see
society.
where you're going.
You know what I'm saying?
Where you're going?
She has fewer.
She's moldable still.
She's still coachable. Yes, you can still kind of get her on your program
if you get the right one, but you could get a messy one, and then that could ruin your life. Ruin your life.
Well, they do say if you date younger, they have less baggage, right?
Right.
So that's where you're going, right?
It's experience. It's baggage. The older you get, the more experience and more baggage you have.
Right.
So a man of a certain caliber, a man of a certain means, he's going to want a woman with the least possible baggage. And one of the greatest mitigations for baggage is age.
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
yes.
If you want to mitigate the risk for baggage, the biggest thing you can do is to get a younger woman.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And that's typically where
I feel like I don't come with a lot of
mindset
baggage, so.
But to with what you're saying though, that's unfortunate.
It is.
It really is.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's really awesome though that Amber can be like, that's fair. You know, like a lot of women would sit there and argue, you know, because they don't want to admit that.
I'm kind of like a man, so.
Yeah.
Amber is a very open-minded individual.
Pretty dope, man.
Well, with going back to with what Kenny had said last week, you know, Amber's not walking outside with that umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that? What was that quote? Don't.
What is it?
It's how did it go?
Your independence.
Yeah, it was about a woman's use your independence like an umbrella. If it's raining, pull it out. If it's not raining, don't pull it out.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So that was a message that
interesting.
Someone that I know, their mother had told them at a young age.
Oh, that's
and then Chris had a point off of that.
Yeah. So my pushback to that was that a lot of women these days, they carry that umbrella with them wherever they go.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. So they may not pull it out. They may not deploy the umbrella, but they have it ready.
Yep.
Right. So it's kind of like you can see that their independence, they're carrying it with them. It could be a completely sunny day, but they have that independence with them. And if you screw up once, here it comes. It comes out. You know what I'm saying? So,
it's like an overcompensating.
It is. It is. Yeah. It's like that overcorrection, right? And they kind of use it as a weapon, that independence, right?
Some women. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. You can catch all of our episodes on YouTube and Spotify at Better Gents Podcast, and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Better Gents Pod. Thank you and take care.